All right, so we came to workshop number 4, the final one, and we've kind of touched on all the different parts of it. Last week we spent some time on construction safety. And, as I was trying to think of which one to do for number 4, one of the things that kind of came into my mind was, why is it beneficial for construction companies to use staffing? So we kind of talked about what construction is and how there's different levels and there's apprentices and what construction safety is. And then, on our way out and as we get done and wrap these up, the last thing I kind of wanted to talk about is how we can take the information that we learned and actually speak to our clients and explain to them, because a lot of them don't understand why it's beneficial to actually use a construction staffing company. So that's what this presentation will be about. And can you guys hear me all right, or should I?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. No, you're good.
One of the biggest reasons is cost. Construction is an industry that there is a significant amount of turnover. As you need to keep production moving and keep job sites going, there's a fluctuation to it as well. Sometimes you may need, 5 guys on site, and then you fall behind and you need 10 guys on site. Well, for a company to hire their own employees, and I just did I went around and I did like a basic minimum wage across the board. I don't know what everybody's minimum wage is, but I tried to find a happy medium. This is average. These are just from the Department of Labor and data costs. An 8-hour employee costs you over $3,500 in turnover costs. If you guys are aware and you deal with it every day at the branch level like we all do, how many employees come through our doors that we put out to work that we never hear from again, that never show up? Construction companies have the same problems. They're dealing with the same things. I listen to my clients all the time who their biggest complaint is they just can't find people to show up. I have one client who tells me he has a 17-day rule. If a worker can get through 17 days without any issues, then he would consider them a good employee. Honestly, I get phone calls. I talk to them regularly. Like maybe 1 out of the 10 people that he starts make it 17 days without a car issue, without a family issue, without just some sort of a reason why they can't come to work or why they were late or, and this is obviously without even making a phone call to let people know that they're coming in. It's definitely, the construction companies go into a bidding process with numbers in mind. They can't change their bid mid-project. So, they need to keep things moving. They need to keep the costs as low as possible. And by using an outside source or an outside agency, it's going to reduce the cost of the project in all. There's no waiting. We get phone calls all the time. An employee quits, an employee finds a better job. They bring people on, they have them on the project, and then all of a sudden the carpenter doesn't show up. Well, why doesn't he show up? Who knows? Nobody knows. But for the time that they put in, the effort to go through their sources, place an ad, bring people in, go through the hiring process, you're talking about 2 weeks' time at least before they get somebody out on the job. While that guy's not working, they're losing money, every single day they don't have somebody on that job, they're consistently losing the income that they would make on the project. So they don't have to worry about that by using an outside source. They can call us or call anybody and say, hey, I had a guy quit. I had, 3 laborers of mine that were supposed to show up. They haven't. I have all of this material that needs to get moved. We're here. We can supply that for them. If somebody's not, that material sits for 2 weeks. Guess what? That slows the whole project down. and then they're automatically 2 weeks, and then 2 weeks turns into 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Next thing you know, they're 3 months behind schedule, and there's a clause in the contract that says they don't, they're going to get back billed for every day they didn't finish on time. We try to do our best to bring in specialty trades and specialty skills, and we spend a lot of time searching for them after we get the order. Whereas if we had a solid person walk through that door who was a plumber or an electrician or a really skilled carpenter, it is much easier to take that person and sell them and sell their skill set to a contractor that's looking. I know in our office in New York, sometimes we tend to do this where we focus on our open job orders, and we'll have somebody call and say, hey, I'm a plumber, and when we're really busy, we kind of say, well, we really don't need any plumbers, and it's happened to all of us because we all have a lot on our plate, but the reality of it is we always need them. They're always good to bring in. The more special the skill is, the more sense it makes to bring somebody in, because now you have something that you can call every single contractor that you have in your Bullhorn database or your lead database and say, hey, listen, I have somebody that's here, and market them. 9 times out of 10, if you have somebody that's really good and you market them, they're going to be out to work by the end of the week. It's where we don't have them and we take the phone call that says I need 4 electricians and we don't have anybody, that we're kind of dragging our feet and, struggling to find somebody, that they're never there. It's the old saying where, when you have a girlfriend, everybody wants to date you. When you don't have a girlfriend, there's nobody around.
Mm-hmm. It's a good example.
Can I use that quote?
Yeah, you can use that quote. Go for it.
Thank you.
Just make sure, make sure I get credit for it.
Absolutely.
All proceeds to Jay.
Yeah. Hiring errors are a big thing. We make them. Companies make them. Everybody makes them. It's not like, we like to think that we put the right person out on the job all the time, but let's be honest, in construction, it's hard to really get a good idea of their skill set until you're actually working with them side by side. If there's a guy who says, hey, listen, I'm really, really good. I'm a great painter. I have all the skill sets that you're looking for, and he goes out there and, there's paint drips and everything else. You don't really know that until you're out there because the guy sounded great. Companies do the same exact thing. They don't have an office where the workers come in and say, okay, you say you're good at framing, build this wall. It doesn't work that way. So we are giving them a chance to do an on-site technical interview. They can see what type of a worker and skill set they're getting before they make a commitment. That is something that they don't get by hiring on their own. They don't want to just bring somebody in and say, hey, we'll give you a tryout today, and if everything works out well, we'll start you tomorrow. Well, what happens when that guy comes out and gets hurt and he's not on their payroll? And it creates a nightmare for them internally with their books and their insurance. And at the same token, they get hired, and 2 days later they find out that they don't work, so they let them go. Well, now that person's going to unemployment and saying, hey, listen, you hired me. You thought I had the skill level. Now you're telling me no. It's, that's a whole other separate issue on its own. So, that's definitely one of the biggest benefits about using a source like ours is really truly being able to reduce those hiring errors and those mistakes that go along with it. The productivity of the job site is obviously one of those things that is greatly dependent on the employees. There's so many things that go into a construction site that can delay it. Permits, contractors, OSHA, if it's an OSHA shutdown, no matter what it may be, there is never a construction site that is 100% smooth and runs 100% smooth. So in order to make up that lost time, what would any company do? How would they handle that? How do they handle the slow times? How do they handle the busy times? By using spec or anyone else, it gives them the ability to improve their productivity, to improve what they're, instead of framing, 10 walls, they can frame 20 walls. And they're moving that much faster. And the faster they get done with these projects, the faster that they're on to the next project, and it keeps the revenue stream coming in. Unless they are a large-scale construction company, which there are very few, even the big ones have a hard time keeping revenue coming in because they set their payment terms. So, an example of this is if there's a building being built, well, once they get to a certain point of the project, they take a payment. They need to get to those payment points to keep the revenue coming in. If they don't get to them quick enough, they're dwindling their entire savings and their entire funds before they reach that next payment point. So, it's one of those things where there is so much benefit to using a company like ours as opposed to anything else, especially for these types of constructions. Construction is the only type of business where you work yourself, to use an old union term, you work yourself out of work. There is no such thing as a steady job in construction. So that's why I laugh when people come in and go, well, I'm looking for something full-time permanent. Guess what? You chose a trade. There is nothing full-time permanent. When a project ends, you got to hope that your company has another project on the horizon. And if they don't, you're going to be looking for a job. So it works both ways because it works for the contractor and it also works for our employee because hopefully if they're good enough, we can keep them working so that they're not looking for a new job every 3 to 6 months. So, this is kind of this was a little bit less of the ins and outs of construction and a little bit more of how, our type of business helps out the construction industry and how we can be beneficial for a lot of the contractors that seek our services. So that was it. I don't have, if you guys have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them for you.
I do. This is Vic. And,
hey, Vic.
I've been on a couple of job sites in the last couple of weeks, talked with subcontractors, bring them bagels and coffee, all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Talking with these guys, and it's a very consistent concern on those sites. Well, it's a concern in other areas too, but in this case, well, if a guy's worth his salt, he's going to be working already. So people that you're going to be supplying me are the bottom of the barrel. And there is something to be said for that, and the guys that are skilled are difficult to find. At least I'm finding that in this market. So I had one yesterday where the mason who was on site, he's looking for journeyman masons, and that's the first thing he said. Can you provide me quality journeyman masons tomorrow? And I looked at him and I said, not tomorrow, but I can get on it for you if you're asking me to do that for you. And it's not really the type of answer you want to give somebody, but that was the deal. And I'll be surprised if I can find quality folks that are.
There's something to be said about picking and choosing your battles as well,
mm-hmm.
And a quality mason, listen, I don't know if a quality mason exists anymore. No matter.
Okay.
You know, that's just, I don't think they're out there. I think the last quality mason might be about 94 at this point.
Yeah.
You know, it's a lost trade. It's not something that people want to do. It's brutal. It's hard work. So, you know, if somebody says, hey, listen, I'm looking for a quality mason, I mean, usually my response is, me too. Do you know, because I know that I'm not going to be able to find, I can find in mid-grade masons that do a lot of commercial work, but, you know, the quality end of it is you know, somebody who's really, really skilled at stonework and natural stonework is something that's not readily available or that easy to find. The question that, you know, the thing that you said before about, well, you're dragging the bottom of the barrel. The quality workers are going to be working. And my response to that is, so do you need help? And if they say, well, yeah, we do, then I'm going to say, well, who are you searching? What labor pool are you searching?
Right.
And they're going to say, well, we placed an ad. And my response to that is, okay, well, if you're placing an ad, aren't you dragging the same bottom of the barrel that I am? But the difference is my job is to screen, to talk to these people. This is my job that I do every day. Your job is to make sure this job gets done on time and built correctly.
That was beautiful, man. I mean, it was. Okay, all right.
So do you see what I'm saying, though? As far as the workforce goes, listen, we're all pulling from the same workforce, but the difference between that construction site supervisor or whoever it may be and you is you're the professional. He's the professional at you know, making sure the project gets done, but you're the professional at finding quality people, and you have more time and effort to put into it than he does.
Okay. You should get a gold star.
Hey, if you're going to deliver that line, you also have to do it with an East Coast accent. I'm just saying.
It's. I mean, I don't know. When we did some work in Georgia, I transferred over to a Southern accent. I found out whatever works, whatever part of the country I'm talking to, I can accent anybody. Texas, I don't know. I would not be good in Texas, I don't think.
Yeah, you need to be bilingual down here, bro.
Yeah, that's not. My Spanish is no good. That's for sure.
Yeah, tacos, burritos, yeah, whatever.
That's about all I got. So.
Jay, I have a quick question.
Sure.
How much do these companies relatively, you know, like a small estimate, how much do they save by using us?
So depending on what the usage is, Zach, I mean, it could go from, if they're going to use us long term, then it might not be something where they save a ton of money, but you know, they can save 30% on any given cost of the project if they want to use us short term.
Nice.
So, you know, the thing that doesn't necessarily, it's not necessarily the cost. Our cost to employee is pretty much the same. You know, by the time they have the workers' comp, where they start to save money is on the cost of unemployment, on the cost of, you know, the administrative end of it. So every person that is working, well, somebody's responsible for their payroll. Somebody's responsible for getting hours in and submitting the tax filings and doing all of that stuff. So that's where we're able to save them money, is because they don't have to necessarily pay somebody to do it. They don't have to pay somebody to interview. You know, we save them money on the HR end of it as well. Exactly.
Cool.
And I would say, I'll just interject something right here. The guys that are on site that you might be talking to first, obviously are not. They're not going to be the guys that you really need to talk to at this level anyway. They're just a contact, because you need to be talking with HR, because they're the ones that understand. Well, if we hire them, it takes this amount of time. The guys on site aren't going to be able to really answer that question anyway. So. You know, it's good contact, and I could talk with those subcontractors and you know, their superintendents or foremans or whoever they are, and I could say, who do I talk to over at your corporate headquarters? Oh, you want to talk to Maria, and here's her phone number. Thank you very much. And that's kind of the conclusion I've come to on these sorts of on-site visits.
We're going to try it because
the on-site visits are they are great for identifying the want and the need. So, the on-site visits is where the supervisor's going, man, I need help, and the person that's paying out the money is going, no, you don't. And it's definitely where you can see the frustration and get a good handle as to what's needed on the job site. So whether or not it's labor, whether or not it's just, somebody to keep the job site clean, whether or not it's a plumber or electrician, that's what it'll give you, and then that's valuable information that you can bring back to the person that's actually paying the bills.
Right.
And say, hey, listen, I talked to John on the job site. He's really struggling. He's having a hard time. This might be a good opportunity for you, and explain what you're offering and show them that they can actually save money by doing it. It might be something that goes a long way, but it's also really good to build a relationship with the people on site. They tend to be, not as closed off and a little bit more forthcoming about what they're looking for.
That's right.
And is there anything else?
We're good here in corporate. You guys have any questions?
Just can we get this on a sheet that we can add to the flyers? Because it's good to have a send out that has this information that we can send right over to a contractor or to a company, with the cost, just a short-term list or something like that we can throw in there for adding identifiers.
Wait.
Like a rack card with this information geared toward a construction company, because this is, as much as we can talk about it, if you send something written and they have it in their hand, it makes us look that much better, and we're trying to deal with it, at least on this end.
Okay. Yeah, I think I would need to know a little bit more of what you're looking
I'm like
for.
the cost, the cost, the short wait times, the specialized skills. His PowerPoint presentation, we can take all the information from that and put it into a quick, easy rack card that we can send out with information, because it gives easy points that they can see for reasons why to use this in construction at least.
I know that in our brochure already we do have a why use spec, and I think it's kind of geared towards both construction and trucking, because a lot of the main points there they are going to save money and things of that nature, and you're looking for people. Well, we're also looking for people, and we have more resources of looking for people. If I'm not mistaken, that's all already in there.
Yeah, I think it's also on the info sheet.
Yeah.
Just sent out.
Yeah, it's definitely in. Are you guys talking about? It's definitely in the trifold. I think what happens is, especially construction companies, they just don't fully. All you hear from them is, well, you're just going to send me the bottom of the barrel and people that aren't any good.
That's right.
Well, that's. I hate to say this, but over the last 2 years, in every one of my clients says the same thing. The people that we send are absolutely no better than the people they're trying to bring in on their own. This isn't an age of quality workforce. Joe had sent me an article from the New York Post yesterday about the 2nd Avenue subway station line in New York, and it's not going to be completed on time. And one of the project managers, went to the site, and there was nobody working. Nobody showed up to work. And these guys are making $60 an hour. So it's not always sometimes the workforce it fluctuates like anything else. And right now we might be in a little bit of a downturn of a quality workforce, and it may require us to work a little bit harder. But I also think that we can get a lot further if we're just honest with our clients and tell them that, because they know, they understand. It's just that we have a little bit more time to put the effort in to find people for them.
Hey, and Jay, real quick, the unemployment is, I think the last time I looked, 4.7. The reason why that's significant is anything under 5 really doesn't even reflect unemployment because it's got a lot of other factors in there. So when we're below a 5 unemployment, that is really bad for companies because it's very hard to find workers because they can choose where they want to go. So every organization, every company will be in a pickle. When the unemployment rate is 7, 8, then it's definitely better for us. But when it's down that low, everybody is going to be feeling it. So I'd like to say I'm surprised, but it's not just one particular industry. It's all over.
Right. I mean, it is across the board, and we as a company now have become almost the I don't want to say the necessary evil, but almost in essence the necessary evil because people just don't know what type of worker they're getting. They want to be able to try somebody out. They want to be able to work with them. They want to see if they can work in the company dynamic because the turnover costs them too much money every time they bring in somebody for a week and they don't work out. It sounds kind of cut and basic, but it really, if you can make a connection with anybody on a site and have that connection with them to where you can honestly talk to them, just like we're talking on this conference call, they will understand, and there's almost like a light that goes off and says, yeah, you're right. We work with a company in New York right now who's got 7 of our people, and as they go through, they're going to just continue to use because it just makes more sense. If they really don't like somebody or somebody doesn't show up, they have somebody else waiting in the wings. And they understand that it's, if they were doing it on their own, they would be spending a fortune and running ads and trying to find people and bringing them in and bringing them to the site. It just takes too much time for them to do this when they're on such a strict time frame to finish a job.
All right, awesome. Thank you, Jay. I don't think anybody else has any questions.
Oh, yeah, I do, but I'm not going to ask them now.
All right.
All right, guys. Have a good day.
All right.
All right, bye-bye. Thanks, Jay.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Jay.
And I